Hi my students, hi everyone. So this is Introduction to Algebra 2. I will show you different lessons and the fundamental chapters which you should study in this book. So we have a table of contents. So chapter number 1 concerns data and linear representations. It contains eight principal lessons. Tables and graphs of linear equations, slopes and intercepts, linear equations in two variables, direct variation and proportion, scatter plots and least squares lines, introduction to solving equations, introduction to solving inequalities, solving absolute value equations and inequalities. So this is the first chapter. Okay, now the second chapter, chapter number 2, we have numbers and functions. So algebra 2 in general, grade 10. It's grade 10 who studied algebra 2. Okay, so we have the second chapter, numbers and functions. We have seven principal lessons in the second chapter: operations with numbers, properties of exponents, introduction to functions, operations with functions, inverses of functions, special functions. So we have seven fundamental lessons. Okay, this is the second chapter. Now let's move to chapter number 3, the third chapter, which name is systems of linear equations and inequalities. Of course, in general, so I will tell you that I will explain the lesson of algebra 2 on my laptop, and then I will do the exercises or examples on my whiteboard. So when I will be explaining the lesson, I don't think that you will see me, but when I will explain the exercises or solve exercises on my whiteboard, you will see me solving exercises. And of course, between parentheses, mathematics is infinite. It does not have an end. Great. Now let's move to chapter number 3, systems of linear equations and inequalities. So we have 6 lessons in this chapter. Solving systems by graphing or substitution. What does it mean, solving a system? Solving a system is that we should know the value of two unknown numbers, x and y, and of course we will do many examples and exercises. Solving systems by graphing or substitution, solving systems by elimination, linear inequalities in two variables, systems of linear inequalities, linear programming, parametric equations. This year I did algebra 2 with my students, and it was so good. I enjoy it. Great. Now let's go to chapter number 4, which concerns matrices. I did matrices in grade 12 in French baccalaureate, and I was studying mathematical science in French sciences maths. So donc j'étais sciences mathématiques D, où j'ai fait les classes préparatoires maths sup maths spé CPGE. ما علينا. So this is chapter number 4. علاش انا قلت لكم هكا؟ because I remember I did matrices in grade 12 فاش كنت في الباك، وعاد خلاص في الكلاس بريباراتوار زدت تعمقت مزيان. ما علينا. المهم. So we have 5 lessons in the 4th chapter: using matrices to represent data, matrix multiplication, the inverse of a matrix, solving systems with matrix equations, using matrix row operations. وعاد مازال determino، المهم مازال شحال من حاجة. Okay, because so this is so huge. راه بحر، الماط راه بحر. ما علينا. Okay. Chapter number 5, we have fifth chapter, quadratic functions, introduction to quadratic functions, introduction to solving quadratic equations, factoring quadratic expressions, completing the squared, quadratic formula, quadratic equations and complex numbers, curve fitting with quadratic models, and solving quadratic inequalities. So we have 8 lessons. Great. Quadratic functions بحال for example راهم كاينين كيقراوهم في الترون كومان. في الترون كومان for example 3x squared minus 5x plus 4 for example. This is quadratic function. المهم كيفاش وبحالاش، المهم داكشي غنشرحو مزيان. غير دابا غنمشي lesson بلسن. Okay. chapter number 6 exponential and logarithmic functions. انا هادو قريتهم في الباك. I remember قريتهم انا في الباك. exponential and logarithmic functions, exponential growth and decay, exponential functions, logarithmic functions, properties of logarithmic functions, applications of common logarithms, the natural base and solving equations and modeling. المهم انا هادشي كنت قريته في الباك. الان والاكسبوننسيال واللوغ عاوتاني هادشي بوحدو هادشي ما علينا. اوكي. chapter number 7, the 7th chapter, polynomial functions, an introduction to polynomials, polynomial functions and their graphs, products and factor of polynomials, solving polynomial equations. المهم كل حاجة ملاين جاية. zeros of polynomial functions. when we have many things. Sorry. chapter number 8, rational functions and radical functions, inverse joint and combined variation, rational functions and their graphs, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. هما الإبربولا، هما les hyperboles. In Arabic we call it الهدلول. المهم واحد التسمية في شكل. radical expressions and radical functions, simplifying radical expressions, solving radical equations and inequalities. This is chapter. This is the 8th chapter we have, and also we have 8 lessons in this chapter. Great. Now عرفتي راه الجبرا راه عالم عاوتاني البريكالكولوس عالم واحد اخر. شوف how many papers، شوف شحال من بيج، راه 1112، راه 1112 الورقه راه الحمار. conic sections 9th chapter, so it's conic sections. We have introduction to conic sections, parabolas, circles, ellipses, hyperbolas هادشي كله غنشوفو, and how to draw them. and between parentheses راه في لا فيديو اللي دازت I did some basic functions, رسمت some basic functions في هذا في GeoGebra. واحد اللوجيسيال سميتو GeoGebra، شكون واحد اللوجيسيال المهم ما علينا. so chapter number 9, which is conic sections, we have 6 lessons. Okay. And we have chapter number 10, discrete mathematics, counting principles and probability. And I don't like ماشي ما عنديش معاها لا، ولكن هذا اللسن هذا ما I don't like it. Okay. I don't like this lesson. So we have introduction to probability, permutations, combination. We have using addition with probability. We have independent events, dependent events and conditional probability, experimental probability and simulation. So we have 7 lessons in this chapter. Great. And we have chapter number 11, series and patterns, les suites ou les séries, les suites numériques, les فيهم which are divided by 2 kinds of sequences. We have arithmetic sequences and also geometric sequences. أنا هادشي قريتو في السيزيام في grade 11 في السيزيام فاش كنت سيونس مات. les suites numériques, les suites arithmétiques ou les suites géométriques. ولي سيري جو بونس قريتهم واش في الباك ولا حتى لي كلاس بريبا، ما بقيتش اكزاكتومون عاقل. اوكي. المهم 8 ليسنز باش ما نطولش عليكم بزاف لا فيديو. انا هاي كنوريكم داكشي اللي مهم، غير العناوين الكبار لي غران تيتر، ومن بعد راه every chapter every lesson غنديروا لها الديتيلز ديالها. اوكي. we have statistics عاوتاني. we have this is chapter number 12. we have 6 lessons in chapter number 12, and chapter number 13 we have trigonometric functions. trigonometric functions عاوتاني شنو فيهم الساين والكوساين والتانجنت والسيكونس والكوسيكونس والكوتانجنت. المهم واحد الروينه عاوتاني داك الشيء بوحدو عاوتاني. right triangle trigonometry, angles, theorem de Pythagore. المهم right triangle trigonometry, angles of rotation, trigonometric functions of any angle, radian measure and the arc length, graphing trigonometric functions, inverses of trigonometric functions. المهم عاوتاني we have many things. trigonometric functions. وعاد we have how to solve trigonometric equations. This is trigonometric functions chapter number 13. And the last one is chapter number 14, the laws of sines, the law of cosines, fundamental trigonometric identities. المهم هادو لي زيدونتيتي شنو هما لي فورمول. عرفتي we have many formulas about trigonometry. Sum and difference identities, double angle and half angle identities. المهم انا هادشي كامل هادشي كامل عندي داير له summary ديالو في واحد two papers فيهم كل شيء. So this is algebra 2. This is the fundamental contents of algebra 2 and fundamental chapter and different lessons in each chapter. So next time inshallah I will start lesson by lesson. I will explain the lesson in algebra 2, the first step number 2. I will do many exercises and practice in my whiteboard. So see you in next video, and good luck. Goodbye everyone.